Okay, last week, everybody was talking, it was in all the newspapers. It was in all the newspapers, it was in all the periodicals. Everybody was doing Parshas Hamahn on Tuesday, Shnayim Mikra Echad Targum, and that's going to be guaranteed to give you Parnossah. I have no idea where that came from. They said it's the Rimanov. Okay, I don't want to say anything against anybody. It's a new innovation that the called Skula, the School of Parshas Hamahn. There is an Indian of saying Parshas Hamahn. The School of Parshas Hamahn is that it's only one day a year. It's on the Tuesday of Parshas B'Shalach, where the Parshas Hamahn occurs in Parshas B'Shalach. And it got so ludicrous. My son asked me, like, what's going on over here? Like, it's school of it. You say it once a year, and now you're set for the rest of the year. And it got so ludicrous. I even heard that people were paying. See, if I have no time to say it, I'll give you $100. You say it for me, and then I'll be. So you send over to me the schooler.
That's the proof. It works for whoever you send it. Right away,
The person who said it, he got the $100. Yeah. That's not what's brought down. There are schoolers. Are there schoolers in the world? Yes, there are schoolers. There are schoolers. We find very strange medicinal practices, whether they're herbs or whether they're procedures, techniques, whatever they are. We find certain things which are called schoolers. So the Rashba asked the Kasha about these certain schoolers. You take a coin and you put it on a wound, and it heals the wound. So the Rashba says about all these schoolers, there is a world, a realm parallel to ours, the Ruchnius world, where there are other laws of nature. There's a nature above ours. That's why it's called supernatural. It's above nature. And yes, there are certain things. There are certain things because, and like we find by a kamiyah, an amulet. Amulets work; they heal people, but they have to be buduk and have to be tried and tested by amulets. So if somebody writes an amulet, it doesn't necessarily mean it works. It has to be somebody who knows how to do it properly, and the combination of words inside the amulet have to be it's buduk and menusa. So, but if it's not buduk and menusa, so it's dam bubba mices.
I gotta say something. Because last week there was a hilula of Rabbi Yitzchak Abu Chatzira. Maybe 2 weeks ago. It's the I think the uncle of the Baba Sali. He's in Egypt.
Still in Egypt?
No, he's buried in Egypt.
Oh, buried in Egypt.
No, not Egypt. Morocco.
Which one?
Morocco.
What's his name? Which one?
Morocco. Rabbi Yitzchak Abu Chatzira.
Yitzchak.
They made something in Har Nof, so I went there, and they're giving out these bottles of arak.
Arak, yeah.
This is a good. They have a segula. They write on the bottle a request you want, and next year in the hilula, if it happened, you drink the bottle.
If it happened.
the guy's walking out with a bottle and a bag. I told him, hey, David, what's the story of this bottle? What's the segula? He said, no, you write something in the bottle, I told him, you believe in it? He says, I don't know, but it doesn't hurt. As he's talking, he drops the bottle and snaps on the floor.
No, but
he picks up the piece of glass, like with the paper inside. He's like, doesn't know what to do with it now. Like, okay, he's all messed up now. Is that, did I ruin it? Did I kill it? Like, he went before Shkia to buy another bottle.
Anyway, no, but don't laugh, because that's the nonsense of the schoolers, which are nonsense, bubba mices. But it's a Baba Sali.
Doesn't hurt.
Baba Sali was known. He was known. There are kama maisim where he gave people to drink. Either it was certain water, certain water. He took water and then he poured it into your bottle, so it was like shirayim. Or he gave you a little bit of arak, and it worked. People were shocked. It worked.
People got up from their
People got up
wheelchairs.
from wheelchairs. I mean, like the one guy came in a wheelchair, and he gave him the arak to drink, and he walked out. So. Listen, there are certain things which are very school. There are people who are
You're
spooky.
saying it from first-hand perspective, Rebbe, or that's 100% true in Suffolk?
I can't guarantee the story. The only story I've heard that are more reliable. Listen, all these stories, it has to be checked and out for that story. I heard from someone who knew the man who walked out. So it seems to be a pretty reliable story. Chaim Kanievsky was known to be really spooky. He would say things and they would come true, and he would give brachas and they would. It wasn't.
Sadi Gozer.
It's Tzaddik Gozer, yeah. But so there is a supernatural realm. Anyway, whether this school of the Rimanov to say.
I don't understand the logic behind it.
There's no logic behind it. The Rashba says no logic.
Why should it be? Why?
Because why should nature be? Why should anything be? That's the Chanina ben Dosa said. Why should oil burn and not vinegar? Because that's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu was geyser. Now you're going to tell me you're going to go into the chemistry of it, and because of the oxygen content of the oil, and therefore it oxidates, and then whereas vinegar doesn't have the proper oxygen content, and therefore it can't oxidate. That's how he created the world. How Kodesh Baruch Hu created the world in the certain laws.
It's the same thing in nature. It's laws.
It's all laws of nature. Why does a car drive? It's a law of nature. Why do you breathe? It's a law of nature. Why are there insects and animals? Why do we eat an animal, meat, and it digests and it becomes part of me, and I get fuel? Why can't I go to the gas station and get fueled up? Because these are the laws of nature. Laws of nature. You're right. Why? All you can ask is what. You can't ask why. We don't know why. Why should it be like that? Don't know. What is it? We know there are laws of nature. And it's very, very specific. They have the whole scientific field is all laws of nature, and it's very, very specific. And the miracle is that mathematics is the language of science. Science has a language. It's called mathematics. They can define all laws of nature with mathematical equations. That's a miracle. They don't even see the miracle, the evolutionists. That you can define it with an equation. It's unbelievable, the miracles, and you can't see the forest for the trees. So these are all the apikorsim who don't believe in Ribbon Shalom creating the world. Now, why should there be these laws of nature? Because that's what a Kodesh Baruch Hu created. Now, there's another world called the supernatural world, which is above nature, supernatural. It's above nature, and it's got different laws. How does tefillah work? There are rules of tefillah. There are malachim. There are angels. There's all sorts of worlds with all sorts of.
It don't make sense.
Why does it make sense?
Why?
Because Hashem says, it's a connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's a way to connect.
Only by us. That not every tefillah is a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Many tefillahs have to go through an intermediary, have to go through a malach. If you don't daven in a minyan, you have HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Shekhinah standing there. So yes, the tefillah goes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu directly. But if you daven in Kosel Mairumi, so then it goes through a malach. And now a malach's got different rules. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It depends how he's feeling that day, Now that's the Rimanov. The Rimanov is once a year. But that's not what's brought down. Parshas Hamahn, there are certain schools. There are 3 scholars that are brought down, and they're bona fide scholars. Number 1 is the Parshas Hamahn. This is in the Shulchan Aruch. But the Shulchan Aruch only gives a remez to it. And the Shulchan Aruch says, Tov Lomar Parshas Hamahn. It's Tov. No. It's Siman Aleph. Shnayim B'Chol Ketagim is in Hilchos Shabbos.
Talking about saying it every day?
No. Shnayim B'Chol Ketagim. No. To say the Parshas Hamahn. This is the Rimanov's idea. He added because since you have to say Shnayim B'Chol Ketagim, and this is now Parshas.
There's no written record of him actually saying that.
No, it's Mipiyah Shmua. I don't know. No. I'm not a Bucky in this. I'm not a Chassid. I don't know. They say it's the name of the Rimanov, and this is what he told his Talmidim, his Hasidim, what to do. Shnayim B'Chol Ketagim on Tuesday. Why Tuesday? It should be on Thursday. I mean, the Parshas Hamahn is Chamishi Shishi. Erev Shabbos you should say. Why Dafka Tuesday? He had a whole cheshbon, what the school of Tuesday, and the week we're reading Parshas Hamahn, reading B'Shalach, and therefore anyway you have to say Shnayim B'Chol Ketagim. So he says read that part, read Shnayim B'Chol Ketagim. Anyway, I'm not going into that. But what is brought down is that in Siman Aleph of the Shulchan Aruch it says Tov Lomar Parshas Hamahn every day, just the Parsha, not Shnayim B'Chol Ketagim. Parshas Hamahn every day. Now, where's the source of this? So the source of this is in the Rishonim. The earliest source, there are two sources about the same time period. There's the Rabbeinu Bachia. Some people say Bachia, some say Rabbeinu Bachaya. I always taught Rabbeinu Bachaya, now everybody says Rabbeinu Bachia. I don't know what the actual proper pronunciation is. This is not the Chavos Halavavis, that's Bachia ibn Pekuda. This is Bachia ben Osher. It's a different one. It's the Rabbeinu Bachaya on Chumash and the Kara Kemach.
Maybe it's Bachia and Bachaya, it's two different people.
Maybe, I don't know. You'll look, they say Bachia. You'll look up in Wikipedia, they'll say Bachia. So Rabbeinu Bachia, what? He's 200 years earlier.
Before the Rishon?
No, before 200 years before the second Rabbeinu Bachia. The Rabbeinu Bachia was around the same time as the Rosh. He was around the same time as the Rosh. And he says, Kabbalah biyad Chachamim. He doesn't say where it comes from. He says it's a Kabbalah that the Chachamim have. That kol ha'omer Parshas Hamahn b'chol yom muvtach loy shelo yavo li'olam lidei chesron mezainas. He's muvtach. He's guaranteed. Those are big words. A Rishonim, one of the Rishonim, a Rishon is telling us that we have a Kabbalah from the Chachamim, from previous Chachamim, that he's muvtach, he's not going to lack. It doesn't say he's going to get rich. He's not going to have enough money to buy a Lexus or buy to buy a Tesla. They're not talking about that. We're not talking about buying a
Tesla. What? It's a Cybertruck.
That's a Tesla.
Some people that's for the low class people.
That's low class. In my days, it was a Cadillac. Now right. So, but it doesn't say he's going to get rich. He's going to buy a mansion. He's going to be live in Savion, and be able to have a pool. It doesn't say that. It says he's not going to lack. He's going to live normally, and he's not going to lack.
We want this gula for the pool.
Shouldn't about I'm
sorry?
Shouldn't someone who has a kaplan always have that, even if it's not?
That's a different machlokes. That's the machlokes. The Rishash, Shalom Strassen, and not Shrabi, Strassen. There's another Rishash, and Rav Yisrael Salanter, whether or not, and also the Chaim Volozhin. That's for next time. Next time I'll give a shir on the Madregas of Bitachon and the Chaim Volozhin, and Rav Yisrael Salanter says if you really have Bitachon, you can wish for the gold watch.
Who says it?
Rav Yisrael Salanter and Chaim Volozhin. They both told their Talmidim the same thing. If you really, 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 really have Bitachon, but you have to really have... We'll get. Oh, I want to get to the Alshich. I want to get to the Alshich in a second. But this is the famous story. The guy went to Yisrael Salanter, and he says, "I need money, so I bought a lottery ticket." This is Yisrael Salanter I'm talking about. So he went to Yisrael Salanter, and he says, I have no Parnossah. I gathered my money and I bought a lottery ticket. Am I going to win? So do you believe it? Yes, then you're going to win. So it came, the guy's waiting and waiting and waiting for the final day. Then Yisrael Salanta came over to him and says, listen, I also need some money. I'll tell you what. How much is the lottery ticket for? 10,000 ruble. Here, I'll give you 5,000 ruble right now, because I know I'm going to win. You're so sure I'm going to use your bitachon that you're going to win, and I'll give you 5,000 rubles right now. Money, you don't have to worry anymore. Here's the 5,000 rubles, cash on the line, and take it. Says, okay, I'll take the 5,000. It's better, better than taking the cash on the line rather than says you just lost.
Killed.
If you really had bitachon, then you wouldn't be mavater on a penny. Not a penny. Nothing. All of us, you're nervous that it's not going to happen. So therefore, that's why you're willing to give away, 50%, 50 cents on the dollar. It's pretty good. It's a good investment. No good. It's not bitachon. That's not full bitachon.
I have another short story.
Wait. So this is the Rabbeinu Bachya. Now, you remember my saying it came from the Mishnah Berurah says it comes from the Yerushalmi. It happens to be it's not in the Yerushalmi. Everybody looked for it and they can't find it in the Yerushalmi. Everybody looked for it, can't find it in the Yerushalmi. I saw a Yair Hoffman, who's a Rav in the Five Towns. He looked for it, he couldn't find it in the Yerushalmi. I looked for it, I couldn't find it in the Yerushalmi.
Fake source for it then this week.
Everybody says it's in the Yerushalmi. So where's that come from? That comes from a Tashbetz. The Tashbetz is a Talmud of Rabbeinu, the Rami Rutenberg. He lives around the same time as the Rabbeinu Bachya, around the same time. Let me read what he says. Yerushalmi. See, he's the source. Anybody says Yerushalmi is quoting the Tashbetz.
He wrote Yerushalmi.
No. He says he found a Yerushalmi. Now, it could be the Yerushalmi. It wasn't like you go to a farm store and you buy Yerushalmi. It wasn't like that in those days. They had manuscripts floating around. So it could be he had a medrash, and it had the language of the Yerushalmi is a different Aramaic than the Bavli. Anybody? You see the difference. You see the difference. You see it's a different style, different language. It's a dialect. So it's a Yerushalmi dialect. It says Yerushalmi. Kala oimer. Listen to this. Parshas Hamahn b'chol yom muftach. He again also says muftach. Shalo yismayato mizainosav. The same thing. The ani orev. I guarantee it. Now he added that in. That means he tried it out. He tried it out, and he's orev. Ani orev. Ani orev. Now.
How does he know? Because of that? Because anything else?
Maybe. He says Ani orev. He's a Rishon. The Hashbetz was a Rishon. We're talking about Rishonim. We're not talking about some rabbi in it's
Denver. It's fine.
in Beersheba, wherever it is, we're talking about the Tashbetz and the Rabbeinu Bachya. Now along comes the Shulchan Aruch says Tov Loimar Parshas Akeda. The Mishnah Berurah explains, and this is why this makes sense. This is not a skula. This makes sense. This is the way Torah works. What is Torah? What is Torah? What does the Kadosh Baruch Hu want from us? He wants your mind. The pa'ulos, the actions that we do, are to influence our minds. He wants you to have. What's the whole purpose of Yetzias Mitzrayim? What's the whole purpose of Yetzias Mitzrayim? The Ramban says about Yetzias Mitzrayim. Why were there 10 makas? So the Ramban at the end of Bo, very, very important Ramban. Maybe we could speak about it every week, this Ramban. That the makas, the 10 makas, the whole Yetzias Mitzrayim, U'leman teda ki ani Hashem b'kerev ha'aretz, is to teach you l'horis ala hashgacha, to prove hashgacha. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was mashgiach on everything that happens. He knew he was mashgiach on every person, on all the makas, all the terrible things, the persecution that the Egyptians did. He was mashkiach on that, and he gave them back, with interest. Lo ozav osam lemikram kedaitim. It's not mikra. It's not happenstance. Everything is hashgacha, specific supervision, divine supervision, providential supervision. Leman teda ki la'Hashem ha'oretz, and to teach us the chiddush. He created the world, and since he created the world, he can do anything. He can manipulate everything. He manipulated by the borod. Right, water and fire they're antagonists to each other. Fire puts out water, and water puts out fire. And yet the borod was fire inside of water. It was together. He made shalom. How did he make shalom? He could do anything. Yeah, he split the sea. Water doesn't split. You go, you dive into the water, but the water it split and it became hard like a rock. So he created the water, so he can do whatever he wants. He can do anything he wants. He can do anything he wants. He could bring the locusts from Egypt and then send them back again, bring the frogs, and then get rid of all the frogs. He could do anything. So we have three different things that we see that Kodesh Baruch Hu is totally omnipotent. Omniscient, omnipotent, and whatever words you can think of is still not enough to describe a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So I saw these are the Roshi Tevis of Chaya. Kodesh Baruch Hu is Chaya. What's Chaya? Ches, Chidush, Yud, Yechoilis, and Hey, Hashkacha. He's got Hashkacha. So Kodesh Baruch Hu, so he wants us to know this. So one of the rules about knowing anything is repetition. You want to know something, you have to repeat it and chazer it over. You want to know a piece of Gemara, you have to chazer it over and over and over again. And then you walk away from it and you forget it and you have to chazer it again. So chazara is the rule, the law of how we gain knowledge by getting and knocking it in. You have to chazer it over again. So the Mishnah Berurah says you have to read it every day. V'ein dai ba'amira, and don't just rattle it off. Ashrei. We'll get to Ashrei in a second if I have time. Yisboinein mashu oime. You got to think about the parsha. That takes time. Now, maybe when you start doing this, if you start saying the Parshas Hamahn each day, so at the beginning it's going to take, let's say, 10 minutes. It takes time.
That's why you pay someone.
Yeah, that's why but it doesn't, you got to do it yourself. So you have to, once you learn it, once you study it and you know it, it's almost by rote, you can get it down to 4 minutes. I'm telling you, you can get it down to 4 minutes. Now, it sounds fast.
There's an 8-minute daf today.
There's an 8-minute daf. Yeah, right. 8-minute daf.
There's a guy discovered a 7-minute daf.
So you can do this in short, but you have to concentrate. You can't be half asleep. So if you're misboinein, you can say it fast. You get used to it, and then you say it fast, and you yisboinein mashu oimer v'yakar niflois Hashem. V'tam la'amir is Parshas Hamahn kadei shiyamin. This is in order that you should believe that all your mezainis coming boyin mehashkacha pratis. Hamarba lo hedif, hamamit lo hichser. This is your Parnossah. Kodesh Baruch Hu creates your Parnossah, and He gave the mun as a paradigm. This is a paradigm of all Parnossah, and you're not going to get any more than was designated for you. The Gemara says, "Kol mezainos of shel adam are katsuvim mi Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippurim." During the Seres Yemei Tshuva, during the Yemei Adin, so upstairs they decide how much Parnossah you're going to have that year. Now, how much you have to work for it, so that's a kanas. We won't get into that. That's Mesil Yesharim. You have to do certain amount of ishtadlis to pay the kanas, in order to be zoicha.
How schools work together with the Ksuvim Loi?
You're going to get it. No, because the Kodesh Baruch Hu is not. If you
You gotta open the vessels.
you have to it's a means of opening. It's a means of opening up the
Whatever you're
shefa.
supposed to get, instead
Yeah.
of working, it's like changing the...
Chok,
It's opening up the berries.
Chok, it's a knas.
Mesil Shishram calls it a kanas.
Sham,
The Mesil Shishram calls it a kanas. You have to go through this. Your hishtadlis be'emes, it's very hard. You have to live with a split personality. You have to work as hard as you can in your Parnossah. I mean, with limits, you got to leave yourself time for mitzvahs and Torah. But you have to, in the actual Parnossah you're doing, use your Jewish brain, your Yiddish cup, and do the Parnossah. But deep down you know that it's gornished. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to send the Parnossah. Hamarba lo hedif, the more, if you work overtime, it doesn't mean anything. It's not going to bring you any more Parnossah. V'hamamit, if you don't work the set amount of time, you work 7 hours a day instead of 8 hours a day. Hamamit lo hichser. This was amazing. At the time, if you imagine in the time of the Hamahn. So everybody went out to the Hamahn, right? He's bringing his buckets, right? And he sees piles and piles and piles. And they said the Hamahn was like a blizzard, snow blizzard, piles of snow. So he's wow, So he brings out extra buckets and he's filling up extra buckets. Oh, come on, kids, fill her up, right? And then he go right. If you can imagine Yesh or Osher Ad or Rami Levy, Costco in America, right? Rami Levy, like they have one day. Okay, the whole store is free, so everybody's coming with the shopping carts, and they bring the kids. They got 15 kids, 15 shopping carts, and he's got 2 shopping carts, so he's got 17 shopping carts, and he fills it up, and then he gets home. Finally he gets home. He gets home and he puts everything. He dumps everything into the living room, right? And the place is packed. And he walks out to get more, and then he comes back and where'd it go? He only gets what he needs for that day. It disappeared. The guy came back with buckets full of mun, and it was overdid it. And when he measures it, 1 omer for each person. That's it. If you have 15 kids, you and your wife, that's 17 omrim, and omer is about 2.5 kilo. Shir chazanish is shir of challah, and omer is a asiris omer, asiris eifa. Omer is the asiris eifa, is the shir challah. The shir challah is around 2.5 kilo. So everybody got 2.5 kilos. Every person got 2. It's a lot. Person got 2.5 kilo.
You see, the Litvaks got only 1.8, and the Bilskis got 1.5.
So if he brought 5 kilo, and then he puts it on the table, all of a sudden when he measures it, it's only 2.5 kilo. Hamarba lo hidif. But if he wasn't feeling well that day, so he only was able to schlep, the 0.5 kilo worth of mun. He put it on the table, 2.5 kilo. V'amamit lo yachsar, and this is a rule. This is this is not more than a rule. This is an influence. It's a hashpah. It's a hashpah. It says at the end that Moshe Rabbeinu told Aaron to put the mun in a kad. They took a jar, a big jar, and they put the mun in a jar as not a zikaron, as a safekeeping. And they said at the time of Yirmiyahu was like close to 800 years later. After 400 years, you had 400 years of the Shoftim, and then 400 years of Bayesheni, and Yirmiyahu was at the end, towards the end of Bayesheni. So he took out the kad of mun, and he showed everybody, why aren't you sitting and learning? Because Baruch Hu gives you Parnossah. Here's the mun. They still had it. And we still have it. It's hidden somewhere in the tunnels. They have their tunnels, and we have our tunnels, right? And because the Mashiach is going to come, and he's going to megala all the tunnels, and they're going to take out the mun. But why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to tell Aaron to put the mun away as a safekeeping? That the hashpah should still be here.
It wasn't to prove it to us, it was just us.
Not just a proof. It's the hashpah. That the mun is still, it's a proof that this is how it works. It could be, it's a proof this is how it works. But that means that the shefa.
You have the man, Sefer Torah, and the staff, you know?
Yeah.
All together.
Yeah.
And all those three things, this is a big kiddush what you just said. It could be all those three things to prove that it's still Ashba. The man, the staff, the Nisim,
All these,
and the Sefer Torah is all...
or this, either it's a hashpah, or these are the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's rules of nature. I said there are two different rules of nature. There's a rule of nature of our nature, physical nature, and there's a rule of spiritual nature, supernatural. And all these things are rules of supernatural. They're chukim, they're laws. This is how it works. But it's not enough just to say it. A person has to think about what he's saying. So you mentioned before. You mentioned before the Alshich.
It doesn't matter what language, Rebbe, then. So why not just read in English if that's the best?
What?
If it's the Iker is the Kavanah, so why can't I just read in English?
You could.
Definitely why Targum.
You could.
Why
You could. If you don't, it's Lashon HaKodesh has a skula. It's true.
And Targum.
I'm not talking about reading the Targum. Not Shnai Mechorech Targum.
Read it once.
To read it. Now, if you have trouble reading the Hebrew, yes, read the English. Take an art scroll Chumash and read an art scroll Siddur and read the Parshas Hamahn. Yes, you could do it. Yes, it'll work. But in general, it's always better to practice the Hebrew, because Hebrew, Lashon HaKodesh, there's a difference between Lashon HaKodesh and all the other languages. There's a school in Lashon HaKodesh we find by davening. The malachim, all the malachim, Lashon HaKodesh works wherever you go. Wherever you are, Lashon HaKodesh works. Other languages don't work in every case. And also the words cannot be translated properly. Every language is just a national agreement that this is what these words mean. That's why you find a difference between French and English and German. I mean, there's nuances, and it's there are many nuances, and they're not translatable. But all languages are just an agreement, a national agreement that when you say this word, it means this object or this concept. Right? Whereas Lashon HaKodesh is created by the Ribbono Shel Olam. The Aleph Beis is in the Shemayim. The world was created with Aleph Beis. That's why it says the Yud and a Hey. So that represents, the Yud represents Olam Haba, because it's just a pintle, just a little dot. And the Hey represents Olam Haza. Right? It's got three corners, it's four corners. There's the Gemara in Shabbos. Why is the hay got a little window on top? Anyway, I won't go into that now. But the Gemara in Shabbos says the kasha. But that means that the world was created with Yud Hey. Yud Hey. So the Lashon HaKodesh is a language. That's why it's called Lashon HaKodesh. It's got kedusha to it. Therefore it's always best to try to daven. And you have a Baal Tshuva, he can't read the Hebrew, so he reads the English. You're Yaitzi. But it's always better to learn the Hebrew and say it in Hebrew, and then you pick it up. You do it enough. I didn't know Aramaic. When I came to yeshiva, I didn't know Aramaic, and somebody told me, just read it. I did Shnai Mechorech Targum. I had no clue what I was reading. And I learned that the Aramaic, the Targum, is supposed to teach you what the Chumash is saying. I was reading the Chumash and it was teaching me what the Aramaic meant. But now I can read the Aramaic. It's like, Aramaic, Hebrew, it's I've been doing it so long that you pick it up. It's just a matter of practice. If you really believe, and this is the thing, why do you have to say this over and over and over again? Because to knock it in, the more you believe, and this is the Gra. Maybe next time we'll discuss the Gra, the machlekes between the Chavos Halavavos and the Gra. But it all depends upon how much you believe. If you really believe, it works. If you don't believe so much, then you have to do ishtadlus. That's why you have to go to work. That's why you have to do ishtadlus, because you don't really believe, like the guy with the lottery ticket. So everybody knows the story of the Alshich HaKodesh. The Alshich HaKodesh, he lived in Tzfat. He came from Turkey, and then he moved to Tzfat, and he became a Talmud of Yosef Cairo. It says Reb Chaim Vital was his Talmud, the Alshich's Talmud, Moshe Alshich, before Chaim Vital became a Talmud of the Arizal. Because there was a very poor man in Tzfas. He was a very simple person, unlearned, and he worked very, very hard, and he brought building materials to the people who did the sand and dirt, and that's how they made the cement, and they made bricks out of it. So he had to bring he went to the mountains, wherever it is outside of Tzfat, and he dug up sand and dirt and earth, and he put it in a wagon and in bags, and he had a donkey, and he hauled it back, and it was very, very hard work. He worked long hours, back-breaking work. One Shabbos, so the Alshich gave a shmooze. He gave a shmooze. He says, the highest level of Bitachon, you don't need ishtadlus at all. If you really believe and you trust in the Ribono Shel Olam, Hashem will provide. And you see from the Hamahn, they didn't have to work. That was what the Kadosh Baruch Hu was trying to prove to them.
It's because they had the highest level of bitachon.
He wanted to instill in them the level of bitachon. This is the first generation after Yetzias Mitzrayim. So he wanted to instill in them, so every day they got another reminder. If you don't really believe it, then they had to go out to the field to get their omer of mun, right? It wasn't, but the tzaddikim was on the doorstep. So they saw how much bitachon each person had, how much they had to work. And if it says if a person who was greedy, he took double the amount, right? He took double the amount, and it got home, and then it became just one, and then but the next day he only got half. So he saw you got to play ball, you got to follow the rules. But he said, but they learned 40 years eating the mun, they forgot what it means to grow wheat. They never saw wheat growing. Like then Yoshua told them, when you get to Eretz Yisrael, you're going to see a miracle. You're going to take these seeds, and you're going to plant it, and you're going to see wheat grow, and you can make bread out of that wheat. Bread is going to grow from the ground. What are you talking about? Bread doesn't go from the ground. Bread comes from Shemayim. What bracha do you make on the man? Hamotzi lechem min Shemayim. Right? What bracha do you make on the man? Hamotzi lechem min Shemayim. Bread comes from Shemayim. And they got to Eretz Yisrael and they saw Hamotzi lechem min Oretz. It was a miracle. That was a miracle for them. They never saw it before. Because they got used 40 years living in a supernatural existence. So if you really believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you a Parnossah, so the man says, if this is true, what am I sweating for? Why do I have to work so hard? If there's such a level like this, level of bitachon like this, so I'm wasting my koiches. Why am I, wearing myself out? He made a firm decision. Hashem's going to provide, and all I have to do is trust in Him. So he took out a tillum. He sat by the stove. They had these old potbelly stoves, cast iron stoves, and he started. It was cold, So he sat by there, and he started saying tillum the whole day. His wife looked at him and says, "No. The wagon's waiting for you." I'm saying tillum. "No, go out and do something." I'm saying tillum. Day after day, she says, my husband become a sugar. He's not doing anything, right? And the cupboards began to get bare, and there was nothing to give the kids to eat, and no matter how much she tried to coerce, to coax her husband, go out and do something, he says, Hashem provides. I heard the Alshich say, if I have real Bitachon, then Hashem will provide, and all I have to do is sit here and say Tillim. Why should I go out into the cold and the heat when it's going to come to me anyway? Come, you join me and say Tillim, and you'll see that our Parnossah will soon be here. Ay. He's lost his mind. He's lost his mind. But what could she do? So she sold the donkey and the wagon, and she's got a little bit of money to last a little bit of time, a couple of weeks, and she's got some money to buy groceries. Now the new owner of the donkey was an Arab, and he took over the route of this this fellow. And he went up and he got the dirt and the sand, right? And he went to the mountains. And one day he was digging, and he found a treasure of gold coins. He found bags of gold coins. Wow, bags of gold. Somebody from previous generations had, in Eretz Yisrael, you don't know what's been going on with people hiding things from the Roman marauders. He found a treasure of gold coins. So he took the gold coins, put them in his bags, put them onto the wagon, and then he went looking for more in the place. And as he's digging, looking for more gold coins, a boulder came loose from the mountainside up above him and came down and killed him. The donkey's standing there. Donkey's hungry. It's getting dark. Donkey wants to go home, wants to eat something. So donkey didn't know where to go. So where did the donkey go? Went home. What's home? To the Jew's house. So he went home to the Jew's house, and this donkey comes, trotting up to in front of the house. The wife sees the animal. She runs over to the wagon. She's loaded with bags. She opens the bags. We're millionaires. We're rich. No, keep saying Tillim. It worked. It worked. We're rich. We're rich. Your Tillim worked.
How do we know that other side of the story?
Huh?
How do we know that the Arab was killed?
Well, he didn't come back. I mean, maybe the people went looking. The people went looking for him. The people went looking for him.
It was tunneling.
The villagers went looking for him, and they found him up.
We know he found it.
Whatever. This is the famous story of the Alshich. You ask me a kasha for Maisa.
Yeah,
This. But listen to the moral of the story. Listen to the moral of the story. So the Talmidim came to the Alshich, the Alshich HaKodesh, and Rebbe, we have a taina. This fellow is he's a simpleton, very simple Jew, and he heard one shmooze, one sermon, one drosha from you, and all of a sudden he's got Bitachon, and he became a millionaire overnight.
Not fair.
We are your Talmud. It's not fair. We're your Talmidim. We've been studying with you for years, 5, 10, 15. We've been studying you for years, listening to all your drushes, and we're living in poverty. And we've worked on our Bitachon just as much as this fellow, and it's not working for us. It's not fair. How come for him it worked and for us it doesn't? Two versions of what he answered. Two versions of what he answered.
Don't ask why the two versions.
So he answered. This is the way the Navardika answers. The Madregas Adam. This story is brought down in Madregas Adam from the Navardika, and he answers. Listen, if you have solid earth, it's they call it virgin earth. It's never been plowed, never been made in never been worked out. And you take a stick and you jam it in. It's in there solid. The stick is in there solid. But if the dirt has been worked out, it's been plowed, hoed, it's loose dirt, and you jam it in, it's going to fall over. So you have to jam it in deeper. This fellow, This fellow is a simpleton. He took what I said simply. He took it at face value. And he really believed it with all his heart and soul. He didn't ask any questions. If the Alshich said it, it's true. And he believed it, and therefore it was true. And therefore the Bitachon worked. But you're Talmidei Chachamim. So every time I say anything, but Rebbe, but the Gemara in Yuvit says like this. But what do you do with the Stira, with Chulin? And what about the Ramban? And the Stira with the Rush and the Rashba? But Rebbe, it stimmt nicht. So you always have drishas and chakiras, and you clear shailas all the time. So therefore, since you're constantly clearing shailas, so it's like dirt that's been worked out, and it doesn't sink in. Because when you try to have bitachon, so you're clearing, maybe not, and you have 100 reasons why maybe not.
What if?
What if? Yeah. So you got to jam it in deeper. It takes much harder to get the bitachon in. Okay. The other answer is there was a man. There was a poor Yushalmi, and he went. All the Yushalmis they go to America to raise money. He had to make a chasana. He had to pay whatever $20,000 whatever for the chasana or whatever.
30 years ago.
30,000. It's up to 30. It's up to 40, right? So he didn't have any money for the chasana. So he went to America, and mamish it was a dead. He was a dud. It was a dead. It was nothing. He came back and he was crying. He has no money for the chasana. He's got to marry off his daughter.
He had money to cover the ticket.
Yeah. So he went to the Kaisel. He started crying his heart out. It was Friday afternoon, and he's crying his heart out. He didn't know what to do. So there was a American guy, a wealthy American guy, and he came, just for Shabbos, and looking for a Kabbalah Shabbos at the Kaisel and Erev Shabbos. See this guy crying his heart out. So he, studied him. Looked like an honest guy. So when he stopped davening, he went over to him and says, "I see that something's bothering you. Maybe tell me a little bit what's bothering you." So he told him, I need $30,000 to marry off my daughter. I don't know where it's going to come from. So he says, "Don't worry." And I don't know. He found a piece of paper and a pen. He wrote down his hotel and room number. Come to me Motzi Shabbos, and I'll take care of it. He came to Motzi Shabbos and he wrote him a check for $30,000. Whole thing. Paid for the whole thing. Wow. Davening worked. Comes next year. He's got another daughter. Right? And he says, okay, so he went Erev Shabbos to the Kaisel. He goes Erev Shabbos to the Kaisel. He's davening. He's crying. And nothing. Nothing. So he went to his Rebbe. He says, "What happened?" He says, "Let me ask you a question. Were you davening to the Kaisel or were you davening to the Yosher?" You weren't davening to the Rebbeinu Shalom. You were davening to the Yosher. If you were a Talmud of the Alshich and you heard this story and you're saying Tehillim, and every time you hear any any noise outside the window, would you get up and look, see if your donkey came, was coming up the driveway, or would you continue saying Tehillim? You'd get up and look. Hey, you don't have bitachon. You're davening to the donkey. You're not davening to the. What's the answer? The answer is, it says, everybody's Parnossah is Kotzuv me'erev Rosh Hashanah ad erev Rosh Hashanah. It's in the hands of the Rebbeinu Shalom. The Chafetz Chaim. Where's the Chafetz Chaim? No, it's the Chafetz Chaim. The Chafetz Chaim says there are three mafteichos. Okay, the Chafetz Chaim says there are three mafteichos that only a Kodesh Baruch Hu, he didn't hand them over to the Malachim. The whole universe is handed over to the Malachim. They do his bidding. Everything is Malachim. It says there's no blade of grass that doesn't grow unless there's a Malach banging it, that is, telling it to grow. All the laws of nature are Malachim giving power, koyach, to the laws of nature to do whatever they have to do. Except for three things. It's the mafteach of Parnossah, the mafteach of a yoledes, of a woman giving birth, and what's the third one? Mafteach techiyas hamesim. So the Chavis Chaim asks, why are these maftechos, these keys, handed over? The Kodesh Baruch Hu won't let him out of his hand. Imagine if he handed over the mafteach of Parnossah to a malach. So everybody's got his malach looking, hovering over him, deciding whether he's going to get Parnossah, right, today, so or this year, right? So he looks at him and says, You know how many times you missed your daf yomi? You know how many times that you didn't go to minyan, you davened in the kaisel my roomie, right? You didn't go daven in the kaisel of the shul. How many times that you yelled at your wife, and you did this and you did that. You deserve Parnossah. Okay, so 20%. So the malach would be bitter at Soros. If everybody had to worry about a malach, it would be terrible. He wouldn't give, right? So Kodesh Baruch Hu takes care of it himself. He knows how to judge and how to be. He's avarachamim and afal pikein. He gives you Parnossah. He gives Parnossah even to goyim, and they don't deserve anything. But because they deserve nothing, but you have all these filthy rich goyim. But why? Because Kodesh Baruch Hu, he's got his cheshbonos. Why they have to have a Parnossah? So he held the key of Parnossah in his own hands, and he says, "This is why we daven." It says, "Ato mechayim mesim, ato rav lo shia." Ato mechayim mesim. Mechayim mesim this is the bracha of gevura. This is Parnossah. Ato mechayim mesim, right? Ato mechayim mesim, ato rav lo shia. It says ato twice. If you look in that bracha, it says ato twice, to accent that the mafteach of Parnossah is in the hands of the Rebbeinu Shalom. Now there's a famous Reb Zusha. Reb Zusha was Elimelech's brother, and we all know about all the stories about Reb Zusha. So he had a schedule. What did he do? He learned the whole night. He woke up in the middle of the night. He went to mikveh. He said Tikkun Chatzos. And then he learned the whole day. And then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it was hungry already, so he lifted up his eyes and he says, Rebbeinu Shalom, I'm hungry. And then his gabbai knew that was the cue, and his gabbai would bring a tray of whatever of food. He didn't eat very much, bread and water and maybe a piece of, herring. But whatever his food was, so the gabbai knew to bring him the food. So the Gabbai is doing this for about 30 years. The Gabbai is getting fed up. He never got a thank you. And all he says is, Rebbeinu Shalom, Hashem, Zusha is hungry. He always talked in the third person. Zusha is hungry. What do you mean, Rebbeinu Shalom? I'm the one who's bringing the food. What does he think? They're the Rebbe. Let him thank me. I'm bringing the food. Very nice, Rebbeinu Shalom. But I'm going on strike. He decided to go on strike. Okay, we'll see what happens tomorrow when I don't bring him the food. Okay, so he's decided not going to bring the food next day. That night, a very wealthy businessman came up driving into the town in his carriage, and it was a muddy, rainy night. And in Annapolis, it wasn't known for its luxurious streets. It had wooden sidewalk, which is enough for one person to walk on. So he got on the sidewalk, the wooden sidewalk, and he's walking, looking for the inn. And along comes an old man in a green kapata with his head down. Obviously, he's vertracht, he's thinking about something. He didn't see this wealthy guy. The wealthy guy, bumped him. Says, there's only room for one. It's me or you, buddy. So, so he bumped him off, and he went rolling into the mud. And he thought it was the funniest thing. There's this old guy, I just bumped him, off the sidewalk. He goes into the inn, and he says, well, What funny people you have over here. That was real funny when I bumped that guy into the. So the innkeeper looked at him and says, "Was he wearing a green kapata?" Yeah. By the way, he was wearing green kapata. There's only one person with a green kapata walking around at 2:00 in the morning. It's Reb Zusha going to the mikveh. You just pushed Reb Zusha into the mud. Reb Zusha the tzaddik? The tzaddik? He's never going to forgive me. What I do to the tzaddik? No, don't worry. Don't worry. He's a very holy man. He's going to forgive you. Just tomorrow at 4:00, I'll tell you what to do. Tomorrow at 4:00, prepare a tray of geschmacka food with a bottle of schnapps. And at 4:00, he lifts up his eyes and he says, Hashem, Zush is hungry. And you'll come in with the tray. 5 to 4, the gabbai is waiting. He's looking through the peak, the keyhole. And he says, is Zush going to be surprised? Yeah. And 4:00, he lifts up his hand, says, Zush is hungry. And from the side room, out comes the usher. Out comes the usher with his tray full of geschmacka zachin and a bottle of schnapps. Zusha never lost out.